We have to wear a gi for this meeting.
No, the movements we're going to do are going to be very basic. And I'll explain the context in a minute. And I'm going to start this class now because it is 7:30 and I think we should be functional. But yeah, we might have others join us, but let's do that. So I'm going to bow in. Do so in your own way. Well, firstly, thank you for showing up, guys. It's nice. It's nice to see some faces that I don't know as well as faces that I do know. So what's the purpose of this class going to be about? Sorry, I'm just going to admit somebody else.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Steve.
Yes, all right.
Joanne's here. Yeah, lots of people here. I'm just about to start the lesson, if that's okay. So
Okay.
the purpose of the class is really to be a bit more mindful about some key movements that we do in Aikido. Because right now that's all we can do. But here's a question for you. So I'm going to ask you to unmute and you can fire your answer at me. Who is the most important teacher to you? Who wants to chip in?
Myself.
Okay, good. Who else? Who else wants to give an answer?
Me.
Go for
Myself.
it. Great answer, John.
Myself.
Anyone else?
Myself.
Yeah. Well, you've got that. I was hoping you might say a plethora of great names, but you're absolutely right. Your most important teacher is you. Okay.
Yeah.
And never has there been a better time to use that teacher. So how can we do that? We can do that about being more mindful about the things that we are able to practice. We still can't grab wrists. Sorry, another admission. We still can't grab wrists and do the practice in the normal way. But what do you think Aikido practice is ultimately about? What is it about for you? I mean, you'll all have different definitions, and I'm going to tell you what I think it's about.
Well, for me, it's health and well-being, both physically and mentally.
Okay, right. Health and well-being, it's a really good start. Dimitra.
Well, the first thing that came up to my mind when you raised the question, it just, I'm sure it's a lot more other things, but the first thing that came up to me was real connection and communications with others, since we don't live alone in this world.
I think that's a nice answer too. Anyone else want to offer anything?
It's about working together to help all of us grow and develop.
Love it. Very, very good. I think our practice on the mat is actually about learning to be centered. And because when we're centered, we always have the best answer that we're capable of giving at any particular time. Because when we're centered, we gather the most information and we come up with the most appropriate choices. Let me just read you something. To be centered, what does it mean? To teach you to focus on the here and now, to create a state where you are focused, relaxed, and grounded, and in so doing, take power away from outside concerns and negative thoughts, allowing you to fully appreciate the circumstances you are in and make appropriate decisions as to what your action will serve the situation will serve the situation best. I love that definition because when we're centered, when we're talking about relationships, we'll make the most of those relationships. When we're talking about being attacked on the mat, we will come up with the most appropriate technique and deal with the situation in the most positive way we can. If we're doing business, we'll have a clear mind and we'll deliver the best service we can to our clients, and we will solve the problems as they arise. So I actually think our physical practice is about developing a sense of center, which allows us to deal with anything that comes our way, on and off the mat. But you have to, it has to be a practice that you want to engage with. So over the course of these weeks, we will do some centering practices. In fact, why don't we do one now? Okay, so if you want to kneel down.
Mhm.
All I'm going to ask you, so initially what we're going to do is we're going to go backwards and forwards. And when I say we'll go sideways and sideways, and then you go from back ankle on your left to your right knee, and then back ankle on the right to your left knee. And then we will do circles. And we'll do it one way and then the other. And while you're doing this, what I want you to imagine is there's a marble in the middle of your hips, right? And what you're doing is moving the marble from one side of the bowl to the other side of the bowl. You don't want to spill it. You want to get it right to the edge before you pull it right back to the other edge. And when we go in circles, you're going to be rolling it around the bowl, okay? And in the end, we're going to slow it right down and we're going to bring the marble back to stillness. Does that picture mean it? Is that okay as an explanation?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, let's try it. You can close your eyes if you're happy to. So we're going to go front to back. 1, 2, front, back, front, back, front, back. Now we're going to side to side. So left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right. Back left to front right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Back right to front left. 1, 2, right, left. 1, 2, right, left. Okay, so now you're going to start bringing the ball to the edge of the bowl and bringing it to the edge and circling around counterclockwise. If you went the other way, that's fine. Okay, so now you're going to slow that down and you're going to bring it the other way. Nice big circles, keeping the ball on the edge of the bowl. Okay, so we're going to slow it down and slow it down and slow it down until there's no movement physically, but in your mind it's still going. Getting smaller and smaller and smaller till you reach a place of stillness. Well, I'm going to get up and come back to the screen, but if you're like me, I didn't want to get up and come back to the screen. How did you find that? I do need you to feed back to me, guys.
I liked it, and I liked your explanation about the marble as well, because it helps you move smoothly, not wanting to spill the marble.
Right.
Mhm.
I guess the really key thing is, how did you feel at the end of it?
Relaxed.
Relaxed. Good. Anything else?
More sense of the center.
More centered.
More centered? Cool.
Yeah.
Good. Anything else?
I think I just got it at a center stillness point.
Right.
As much as slower I was going, and okay, now I got at a place that I fit.
Okay. So if I said peaceful, calm, relaxed, would all of those words be appropriate?
Focused.
Focused? Yeah, in a way, very focused, because we had to concentrate on doing exactly what we were doing, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was still quite calming. Calvin, you look like you had something to say.
Like energized. I think it was the activation of the center for me, like the
Right.
centrifugal force of it. So it's like so before the grounding and the stillness, it was activated and sort of now it's spinning.
All right, so there's an energy to it too. So at the end of that exercise, if I said to you, right, well, now you've got to do a maths test, would you be better able to do that maths test than before? I think
Yes.
so.
Better.
Better.
I think so. I think when we're centered, we may not be very good at maths, but we're less likely to panic when we're doing the exam. We'll give our best show, and that's all we can ever do, right? So in Aikido, we learn a billion ways on how to center, because at the end of the day, when we're centered, we deal well when somebody's coming at us with a sword or a knife or a fist, or we learn to at least. And we want to deal with problems off the mat in exactly the same way. And we can take the techniques we learn on the mat with regard to centering them, and we can apply them in any situation that we might find rather stressful. Okay, so if I said, well, what's going, so right, if I asked you what was going on in your body and you didn't have any time to think about it, I doubt you'd give me much information. But I'm going to ask you to now scan your body. So from top to toe, you're going to scan your body. You can do it standing, sitting, or however you feel. And once you kind of scanned your body, also focus on your breathing. Yeah, and see what you notice in your own good time. Was that long enough, guys?
Yep.
Okay. So what did you know? I'll tell you what I noticed. I noticed I had tension in my face that I didn't realize I had. I also had it in my jaw. I noticed that my breathing got longer as I went along. I noticed that my knees were not soft. They were kind of clenched, which is a bad habit of mine. I got more grounded as I went through it. So there's lots of stuff there that I noticed about my body as I went through it. What about you guys? Someone brave enough to shout out?
Well, I was breathing from my center, from my hara, but I had a small amount of back pain there.
Right.
I don't know whether that's just because of the way I'm kneeling.
Okay. Did you notice that back pain before you did it?
No.
Okay. Well, that's worth knowing about. Anyone else?
I sort of had the opposite. I noticed back pain that I did have before. And my arms and legs were feeling nice and relaxed.
Great. Okay, so you actually were sort of, when you paid it some attention, it began to relax and you were able to take the pain away. So,
well, somewhat.
Somewhat. Yeah, well, the same with me. I mean, my face was scrunched up more than it should have been. And as soon as I realized it and I let go, I felt a little easier. Yeah. So not quite on the same level, but that's what happened for me. One more report. Okay, that's okay.
I felt very centered.
Cool. Good, Steve.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, I think as you begin to pay attention, you do naturally settle into your center.
Yeah.
So this is the mindfulness part of what these sessions are going to be all about. Okay, there's an awful lot of information that's being fed back to your nervous system from all parts of your body, but how often are you giving it some attention? Probably not a lot. You're thinking about your breakfast or the next phone call or the letter you've got to write or the shopping that you've got to buy, and you're not actually paying your body some attention, and you need to. And how do you think you learn through Aikido technique? It's about paying attention to what's going on in your body. So what are you feeling from your partner when you're lucky enough to have one? And what are they feeling from you? When are you, trying to slam them into the mat? Pay attention and you'll notice it. You'll notice the lumps and bumps. But if you just want to go through it with power and muscle, that's probably what will happen too. So I know that the longer I've practiced, the more I've noticed the really small things, and it's the really small things that make a big difference to your practice. So an accumulation of those little things actually add up to quite big things. Here's an example in daily life. Please, will you help me? Help me. You know, one word difference, but it carries a completely different message. So just it's a small detail, but the niceties of manners, they affect the people around us. Yeah. So this practice is going to be all about mindfulness and looking at really small parts of our technique generally, so that you notice how many moving parts there are within just a very small thing, and how many different things you could focus on within that. And the idea is not to perfect it on these sessions. It's to allow you to take these ideas away and practice the movements that we do here, or any movement that you do using the same kind of system of just checking in with your body on what's going on. I did a session like this on Saturday, and somebody said, well, I can't focus on all of that at once. And the answer is you absolutely can't. So take one thing, you know, maybe you're going to focus on breath and see what you're doing when you're doing your technique, or you might concentrate on what you're doing with your hips, or what you feel underneath your feet. Just take one thing at a time and observe it, right? And then if you think there needs to be an adjustment, make it. Okay, so I want to take another example of a really, really human gesture, which actually we see something very similar on the Aikido mat, and that would be a handshake. Now, Stephen, you're well positioned. Do you mind facing your other camera? Stephen? Yeah, okay, and you're going to come towards me and you're going to shake my hand, right? So you're going to walk to me and just imagine you're going to shake hands. We're going to meet in the middle and we're going to shake hands. Right, okay, I need to stand further back. So if you notice Stephen's hand and if you notice my hand, it's not out there. We meet in the middle. If we were able to actually grab each other, I wouldn't try to cram him. I wouldn't try and push his arm up against his body. He wouldn't try to do that to me. Our hands would meet on our center line, and we would hopefully shake hands in a friendly way. Why do we shake hands in that way, do you think? What's the purpose of the handshake?
It's connection.
It is connection. It is connection. So it is connection, but tell me more.
It's a passive connection between two people to generate a bond.
It could be.
It originated from the sword and the horseman.
Yes.
Okay, how does a handshake originate? I can see how the movement does, but I don't see how it relates to a sword cut.
It's proof that you can't.
No, it isn't the sword cut. It just stops someone. You're showing that not going to use the sword against them by taking their hand.
Okay, so that it's meant as a friendly gesture, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think?
Quentin, I would like to add something to it that just came. When we shake hands with somebody, the point that our hands meet is our center line.
It is.
It is our center line. And this makes the connection, the central axis.
It makes it stronger, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it makes it is the embodiment of the connection, not in the mind.
Yes, it is the embodiment of the connection. But there is a real connection. You know, I think that this is one of the most human gestures for getting information to another person and from another person. Don't you think? There's a real exchange of energies in a handshake.
Feel that they're gentle.
It's about an agreement.
Say that again, Joanna.
Yeah, it's about an agreement when you agree on something with the other.
Yeah, it could be a sign of agreement. And you know, but if you just think about the sort of welcoming handshake when you first meet a person, I don't know about you, but you know, a handshake tells me a lot about that person, about how confident they are or not confident they are, or how aggressive they are. There's a tremendous exchange of information, I think, and we offer it in a neutral place, but we also offer it in a really strong place, don't we? This is the place we want to operate from if we want to maximize the information we're going to get. Yeah.
And then the intention in their connection with you. I mean, because you talked around the range of their energy coming in, but just the connection of how they're, because a lot of handshakes that I'm experiencing, they're either passive inside of them, or they're tepid in their connection, or not focused because they're out here as opposed to the connection right here. So when someone's really connected with an intent with you,
yeah,
you really.
So you've made a really good point, Calvin, and it allows me to make one back because you've just sparked my mind. Everything we say here is a bit of a generalization. There will always be exceptions to the rule. So if someone gives you kind of that sort of wet fish handshake, it could be because they've got rheumatoid arthritis and they just can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't mean that they're not interested in you. It could be something like that. Or it could just be that, you know, someone gives you that bone-crushing handshake. They don't know that that's what they're doing. They just don't know their own strength. But we do read things into them generally, like they're being a bit aggressive or they're not really interested in this relationship. So I'm not saying it's infallible. I'm just saying it is an important exchange of information. And the reason I chose to go through this is because we make this offering in Aikido all the time, you know, and I don't think it's a coincidence that it's also on our center line, and it's also about trying to read information if we use it right. Yeah. So at the moment of contact, we're feeling: do they want to come in? Do they want to pull us? Do they want to go to the side? Where did this person want to move? And the question is: are we going to pay any attention or are we not? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Quentin, it's worth, I think it's worth mentioning that it is a fairly Western convention, and in the East it's more of a, yeah.
Okay, what do they do in the East, Andrew?
The
Oh, they do more of a bow.
yeah, it's
Yeah. Yes.
but it's still a center line movement, and
Yes.
it's still a movement that shows that you've got no intentions other than friendliness.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And perhaps it is because they're more of a sword culture, that they keep their distance a bit more. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be entirely theoretical. But certainly I think in our culture that's the purpose of the handshake. It is this exchange of information. You're trying to show that you're not trying to overwhelm them, you're interested in them, or whatever it is that you are trying to send as a when you shake hands. Sometimes we're not interested, and we do want to signal that. Okay.
We can gain a lot of information from a handshake.
That's exactly my point, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, because that is the first means of contact that one has with anybody. And at the moment, social distancing, it's all thumbs up, I expect, or whatever. But it's not the same as connecting in the full sense of the word.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Steve, your Aikido is very tactile. So you receive a massive amount of information from the first connection. Because your Aikido is tactile.
And indeed,
tactile.
Steve's receiving quite an enormous amount of information even before he's touching Calvin. So you know Steve's blind. So his Aikido comes out in different ways. Okay, we're going to try something here. I don't know if this is going to work. Okay, so I want you to put your hand outside your right hip. Okay, now what I want you to do is push it with your left arm on your elbow, because that's fairly easy to reach, and see how much resistance you can put up. have a fair degree of resistance, but I am having to work quite hard. Okay, now I want you to bring it into your center and try the same thing. Now, I don't know about you guys. Sorry, I'm just showing you where my hand is. This is really solid now. Yeah. Okay, we'll try another little test. And I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll try it. So, how many of you are a good few of you will be, I think, are familiar with this idea of unbendable arm?
Yep.
Right. Okay. So, again, what we'll do is we'll put our right arm outside a hip, and we're just going to draw our first finger and thumb together. Okay, and I want you to insert your other finger and thumb on the other side and see if you can break that wide. See if you can break the circuit. Don't press your finger and thumb hard, really hard together. Just put them lightly together and imagine there's a circle of energy going around there. Okay, I can break that. Now bring it into your center and do it. I can't break that. It's really strong. So I'm interested to know, does that work for you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Yeah.
So I came from a Ki Aikido background, and in the Ki Aikido system, you have this whole testing thing that goes on. You have another person there to reflect what's going on in you. I mean, that's really what the role of an uke is when you're doing technique with them. There just should be a reflection of you, but we're talking about standing with mind and body unified. Okay, little basic things. Again, well, let's try it, okay? So what I want you to do is you're going to make that little circle in your finger again and thumb, and let that hang, but you're going to put all your weight overly on your left side, and you're not going to leave any weight really on your right side. And now try and reach over and see if you can break the circuit. Again, it breaks quite easily for me. But if I come back to center where my weight's evenly spread between the two hands, and I test it, again, it's solid as a rock now. Yeah. Okay, so I'm sure there are many things we're going to do where coming up with a self-test like that is going to be hard to find, because you're just not going to be able to be in a position to do it. But what we can do is we can use body wisdom to maybe tell us something. Oh, hang on, something else coming. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to stand, okay, and what I want you to do is deliberately go forward and backwards and allow yourself to settle. Feel like now you've settled. Well, we can test that in the way I've just shown you. Well, apparently that feels pretty good to me. What happens if I shift my weight to just the balls of my feet? I break I can't keep that test going. What happens if I rock to my heels? I can't. So now I'm going to just let my weight settle. Okay, that's good. Okay, so let's take it ridiculous stuff. Let's go very wide-legged. Okay, and let's test there. I've gone so wide, I've got a little bit of pain in my thighs now. Not so good. I can't keep that stance. As I come in, actually, it's still not right. Even though the pain has gone away, it's still not right. Oh, now it's right. So I know that's the place I want to be. And it would be, sorry, I shouldn't come in, I should go back. Your feet will be just about underneath your hips. It's probably the place. Remember my rule that what works for me won't necessarily work for you. You've all got unique bodies, but generally speaking, it'll be somewhere like that. So you need to play with that. Stances that you've adopted for a long time may not be so good. So let's try another Hamley stance. Let's take a really wide stance. Okay, I feel really quite solid and grounded, but my body's telling me that's not great when I do that little test. And now I'm going to bring my feet a little closer together. This is more comfy for me, and my body's telling me, yeah, I like that. That's good. And I do see on the mat when I'm watching, I feel a lot of people make these big movements. And I think it's wrong. It's not awful, but it's just not as correct as it could be. I'd rather they brought their back foot up or their front foot back a bit so they get to optimal place. And that's, remember, what we're trying to be. We're trying to be in that centered place more often than not. I'm sure many of you will know this. But one of those Sensei students said to him once, you know, you never seem to lose your center. And he said, well, that's not true. I lose it all the time. I just get it back quicker than you guys. Because he noticed it. And he then did something about it. So we have lots of tools at our disposal to change it. It's just a question of whether you're going to do anything about it. Okay, so let's talk about when we get upset. What might we do to maybe go back to center?
Take a deep breath.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. And of course, there is no right or wrong answer here. Anything that works for you to take you back to a centered place will be good. So it could be that you take yourself to your happy place, you know, in your imagination or for real. Or you take yourself off to do something that you really enjoy doing, but at a push, anywhere, anytime you can breathe. Yes? I'm sure none of you are feeling overly stressed right now. I hope you're not. If anyone's stressed, it should be me, because I've got to keep this class going. But I'm not too stressed. You're quite a nice, friendly audience, so you know we're okay. But let's just again, rock backwards and forwards, and allow your body to settle. Allow your hands to just fall back into your lap. I've got one hand in one palm in another palm, but you could have your hands palm on your thighs, whatever works for you. And just shut your eyes and start to notice your breath. If you're like me, you'll probably find that it becomes more rhythmical and longer. It has a wonderful settling effect. The shoulders begin to feel relaxed. Everything settles ironically into the center. And if I stop talking, which I'm going to do, maybe you'll start to notice some of the sounds that are around you that you weren't paying any attention to before. Maybe you'll notice the wind in your cheeks if you're outside. Maybe you'll notice the ambience of the room, i.e. in terms of temperature. So I'm just going to remind you that we're not going to spend forever on this. These are things that you can practice in your own time. But I will be amazed if any of you are feeling anything less than calmer than you were before you started that exercise. Can you just confirm that for me?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay, so, you know, we talk about transference of skills we learn on the mat. And breath is incredibly important on the mat. You know, all our power comes on the out breath. It makes a tremendous difference. When you stop pushing somebody over and you just go, let go, you'll suddenly find they fall to the floor. It's astounding. And on that out breath, they usually will go if you're doing something like if you're under. So that's worth playing with, but you might have to wait for another person for that. But, you know, if you're suffering from a bit of car rage, just breathe. Give yourselves, what's one of the skills that we learn on the mat when we're being attacked in a really, really extravagant way? We give ourselves space, don't we? Instead of trying to enter, we actually just give ourselves a little bit of space to see what's coming for a little bit longer. And that strikes me as a really, really good lesson off the mat as well. Just before you open your mouth and say something that you regret, it's better to be silent for a minute or two and breathe and then say something from a centered place that might help the conversation as opposed to exacerbate. One of my personal practices is I do verbal Aikido training. And I don't think I'm too bad a communicator, but I do think I'm a little bit more mindful these days about when I should say things to my lovely wife and when I should just shut up, and what to say as well. Because I take a little bit more space and a little bit more time, and I'm a little bit more mindful about what I know I want to say, but I know is ultimately wrong. You know, it's me speaking from a place of rage or fear or whatever it is. Okay, so we're coming to 20:06, and I did say this would be 40 minutes and 40 minutes only. So I'm just going to open it up to you guys. How did you find this session? You know, what's your feedback?
Relaxing.
Good.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Good.
A helpful session.
Good. Laurie, I haven't spoken to you before other than on Mighty Experts that one time. So please tell me what you found.
Right now, gratitude. Gratitude for a community of practitioners and hopefulness that if we all just keep training, that we will each in our own unique and not so noticeable ways, that we can make a positive contribution.
Yeah, well, that's lovely. And I agree. Anybody else?
Yes, Quentin, also me. I just feel, while we were practicing, it is the same sense of gratitude while we take advantage of this enclosement in our homes and all this. It's amazing. There's people sharing these very, very intimate parts of the human body and soul, and people from all over the world at the same time.
It is a beautiful thing.
Listening to each other's breath. It is really, I feel gratitude for that. And I felt that this was a very good introduction for this course that you are starting.
Okay, I hope I can keep it going. All I'll say is that just remember that all the things I want to sort of share with you, they're things that are incredibly helpful on the mat and will help you become a better practitioner on it. But they apply anywhere, anytime. You can take these ideas and you can give a better response and be more centered and more appropriate, whatever you're doing. Yeah, and that to me is the great gift of Aikido, that it rises beyond the other martial arts simply because you can use it everywhere. And I've been practicing now for about 36 years. I can assure you, if it was just about chucking people about, I'd have given up a long time ago. A really long time ago. I'm getting too old to be chucked around or do the chucking, really. So it's got so much more depth that, you know, I still feel like a baby in it. And so yeah. That's the joy of sharing. And by the way, guys, I want this to be a participation session. So if there's any particular movement you want to look at, we'll do it. And it might be that I lead it and say, well, my thoughts, or I might get you to do it and tell me what you find. And then we can play with it together. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. I hope that was kind of fun. We're going to bow out now. And if you liked it, maybe you'll be back next week.
Thank you, Quentin.
Pleasure.
Hey. Gracias.
Gracias.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Blessings to you all. Blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say one last word. Just had my tiramisu, Patrick. Thank you very much.
Sounds good to me. Time for cocktails now, Joe.
Oh yes, tiramisu.
What's the temperature in Sao Paulo?
What? Sorry.
What's the temperature in Sao Paulo now? What's the weather?